It's a beautiful day to be an Allosaurus. Just wandering around, not a care in the world. Sun shining. As much noise as I can. Sounds like another Allo over here. It was indeed another Allosaurus, and his name was Dave. And we celebrated by letting everyone know where we were. The Allo pack grows. We headed northwest to see if we could find some trouble. Dave, however, was aware there was a Giga at Trips, which is an area near a lake. Now, we are in no condition to take a Giga. Well, unless it's under ideal circumstances. We stopped for a drink at a location called Muddle, which is Mud Puddle, and then we carried on west. I wasn't streaming this because this was a survival game, and I didn't want someone watching my stream, finding out my location, and then coming and murdering me, so I just recorded it. And as Kojo pointed out, because we weren't having an event, then there was no reason to fast forward the night, and it was getting dark, and the Allo night vision is not spectacular. We reached Hill Pond and had a cautious look around, but there was no one here. So on the plus side, there was no giant Giga to murder us. But an Allo did make themselves known in the chat, and so I sent Void an invite, and our pack grew. Void was quite far away, so we started heading in his direction, but on the way we had to stop for a quick snack that I couldn't catch. Finally. Void found us before we found him, and it turned out that he was just a little baby, around 76% grown out of juvenile. So we had to take care of him. We started heading southeast towards a body of water, and that was the beginning of our troubles. As Dave broke his leg. When you are a 3-ton dinosaur and you have broken your leg, there is only one thing you can do, and that is sit down until it's healed. So, while Dave healed off the break, I decided to go and see if I could hunt us some food. Void, as a juvenile, was probably hungry, and so I thought I'd do something as I could hear some food calling in the distance. It was another taco, and with enough persistent biting at the ground, I finally managed to get it down and let Void know, hey, there's food over here. As Void was coming over to get the food and Dave was resting, he noticed that there's something near us. Which, in the middle of the night, when you're an Allosaurus and your companion has a broken leg and you have a juvenile to look after, is not good. As Void began devouring the food, I took my proper position ready for an ambush, as I was the only one properly capable of a fight. And then I spotted it, a Carnotaurus. He wasn't ready for me, but I was certainly ready for him, and landed at least one good bite on him, before chasing him off into the trees. Carnotauruses are far, far swifter than Allosaurs, so I returned back to protect the wounded and the young. At this point, despite Dave's broken leg and the fact that Void was just a baby, I was feeling pretty confident. There didn't seem to be anything in the local vicinity we couldn't deal with. Just one Carno, even at night, is no match for an Allo. And so, vulnerable as we were, we waited. However, within only a few moments, I could hear something to the east of us. Not only was I unprepared for the Dilo attack, I was also unprepared for for the subadult Tyrannosaurus Rex that came to try and ambush it. I got a bite on him, but he was definitely coming back. And in the meantime, the Dilo had got a bite on Dave, causing him to bleed heavily. Worse still is that we were communicating in the chat, and you may have noticed, but every time you say something in the chat, your dinosaur makes a noise, and that noise can be heard by everyone around you. We were pinned. If Dave got up, he'd probably die, and the T-Rex was definitely out there somewhere, healing off the bleed from the bite I had given it. And so we waited, on edge. Until I heard some heavy footsteps coming. But to my surprise, it was the Carnotaurus. And so I went for him. I gave him a severe mauling, and that's the last we'll see of him. But still we were pinned to the spot. My bleed wasn't bad, but Dave's was still critical. And then Void noticed that the subadult T-Rex was back. I traded with him on the first bite, but he got the better of me. And even though in the woods I was hoping I'd be able to get behind him and start really laying into him, the damage he'd dealt to me caught up, and I had to break away from the fight or else die myself. So I found thick copse of trees to sit in, and I licked my wounds as the Rex murdered Dave. When the bleed had worn off and I could at least move without dying, I messaged Void, giving away my position, but I could run for it. Things weren't looking good, and Dave, in his own words, quote, seething, didn't respawn as an allo, so I couldn't re-invite him to the pack. This accursed place had the stench of death. It was time to go. If there was one thing I wanted out of this life, it was to see Void become an adult. So we left. We healed and hunted as Void grew. We made sure that we stayed away from anywhere that we thought there might be a gathering of large predators or just dinosaurs generally. And I hunted down AI just so we'd be able to eat and survive to see the next day. But finally, after what seemed like the longest and most dreadful night, the sun finally rose. I could finally turn off the damn night vision, and we were able to actually see our surroundings with our own eyes. Void thought there might have been a Giga near the lake that we were at, so we decided to go find a new lake. But I have to say I did enjoy the sun on my face as we travelled there. While we were resting and waiting for Void to grow, another Allo logged onto the server and made himself known, so I invited him to the pack. By the time we met up with Jinx, Void had become a fresh adult, and Jinx was an adult too, so we decided to go hunting. What's the worst that could happen? We headed towards the trips, and Jinx spotted a Giga at the top, so we approached with appropriate caution. And there he was, himself in ambush, ready for us. As Void said, we've been spotted. It's time to go. We escaped into the sunlit forest and assumed that we'd lost him, even though we could hear him calling in the distance. Surely he couldn't be tracking us this far, so we didn't think too much of it. We stayed on our guard because you never knew when the opportunity to ambush the Giga may have come along. Except then we heard footsteps. Very heavy footsteps. He was right behind us. And he was persistently chasing us through the forest. As we'd starbursted in different directions, I decided that I would call in order to try and attract his attention. We kept moving, but he was persistent, although I was confident that we would be able to outdistance him if we needed to. I assumed that he would have just lost us by now, but apparently not. So we just made a break for it. Night was falling and we all needed to eat and drink. So we headed towards the nearest watering hole. All seemed relatively calm, and Jinx had to log for a minute, so we thought we'd just take it easy here, maybe hunt some AI. But as we were resting and looking for the next Allosaurus to hunt, the subadult T-Rex returned and ambushed Void, and ran right past me. That was it. I was going to have this subadult T-Rex, and I was not going to break my leg doing it. Especially in an environment like this. He was going to be back, and I was going to be ready for him. Gotcha. I can chase you down. I know that I've got better stamina than you and probably better top speed. You are not getting away. And there are two of us. Absolutely not getting away now. A subadult T-Rex is a difficult proposition for an Allosaurus, but it's doable. They're very tough, they've got a very strong bite force, and they've got more hit points than you. But you have a lot more bleed. As I drew closer, I could smell the victory. He tried to brake check me and failed, allowing me to get plenty of good hits on him. I was getting him. I was getting him. And then he did get a successful brake check on me, allowing him to bite me without me being able to bite him. But it's not the end of the world. I could have pulled out of this. Easily could have just run into the forest and healed it off like before. Except I ran into a rock. And thus ends the life of my Allosaurus. I had a tremendous amount of fun making this video. This was just really entertaining for me. And it was really entertaining to put it together. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you did. And I'll leave a link in the description to the Discord server where we organise this map. This is the Isle Legacy. The server is called Meso. Feel free to come and join us. We always have a good time. And usually on the weekends we have big staged events. So we'll have 3 T-Rexes versus 5 Allos versus 8 Utahraptors or something like that, and they'll all be fighting. That's always good. But the server's always up if you want to just enjoy some survival with us. See you there.